Hey friends, I'm going to be playing Minecraft and reading a few Reddit stories for you to listen to while you relax. Let's start with the first one. Am I a bad person for telling my friend she's too big to go into certain places? So I, 16M, was talking to my friend 15F. I recently have been getting into urban exploring and was talking about it with her. She asked if she could come at some point. It's important to mention that she's plus sized. I said of course, but there would be certain places that she wouldn't be able to go into because the only entrances available were very small holes or there were parts that you needed to be lifted into. I didn't say it in a way that was intended to shame her, I just stated it like above. She got upset about what I said. I told her it wasn't meant to hurt her. I just wanted her to know for future reference, but she hung up on me and we haven't talked since. Edit. I feel like I should mention this. I didn't mention her size just because. I mentioned it because of her wanting to go into a specific place, and that one happens to have a very small entrance and several parts that are hard to squeeze into. Because of that, I mentioned it was something that might happen at several places. And I said it was okay because there were many places she could go and I would take her there. Just wanted to clarify for a few comments I got. So am I the bad person? Personally, I think this was a bit of a misunderstanding. I think the owner of the post was trying to be thoughtful, but it came out wrong. It's possible that the girl might even have a romantic interest in him, and when he told her that, it might have been a subtle rejection that she shut down on. I think it's best if they talk it through and come to a conclusion. Again, I think it's just a misunderstanding, and I don't think that the owner of the post is a bad person at all. But that was a nice simple one to start it off. Let's go on to the next story. This next one is titled, Am I a Bad Person for Calling Out My Best Friend from Stealing From Me? I, 34F, hosted my best friend, 32F, for a week recently. We've been friends for over 10 years. I've lived across the country for the last 6. Context: I have a blazer with beaded tassels that she loves. Not that it matters, but it's around $300. She has asked me for it several times over the past 2 years. Like, don't you want to just give it to me already? It's more my style and you never really wear it. To which I always laugh it off and say that I love that blazer. When she was visiting, she asked again if she could just have it, and I laughed and said no, I don't want to give it away, but you're welcome to wear it to dinner. Her flight was early Thursday morning. We hugged goodbye, but I was asleep and only heard her make coffee and get ready before leaving. 2 days later, I'm getting dressed and just have this feeling. I look for the blazer in my closet. It's not where it normally is. I look everywhere, including my dirty laundry, because surely she didn't take it. I texted her asking if she knew where it was. Maybe she wore it to dinner and left it in my car and I forgot. Nope. She took it. She said she was cold and running late for her Uber and that it was the only thing she was sure that would fit her. We have been sharing clothes for over a decade. Everything I own fits her and she knows it. Beyond that, this blazer was in the back of my closet. She has to go past 10 oversized sweaters and hoodies to get it. And my oversized hoodie that she had worn the night before was on the couch next to the door. I've always been very generous with my stuff. In fact, I gave her a few things from Reformation this trip because I don't wear them and she liked them. I truly feel like since I said no to this, she decided to just take it because she wanted it. So I responded with, "What the heck?" She made the same excuses again and then said she'd mail it back to me next week. I called rubbish for all the reasons I stated above and told her that's weird behavior and that I'm angry. I told her to mail it to me and that I needed some space from her. Am I a bad person for being mad about this? Is it crazy to not even want to be close friends anymore, whether she mails it back or not? This story is a bit challenging because it feels like that friend was okay with letting a 10-year friendship go over a blazer. The other friend probably doesn't see it as such a big deal, but if you put yourself in the perspective of the person that made the post, it's quite hard to move past this because it's like a straight breach of trust. One thing I'm confused about is why this blazer is such a big deal. I wonder if it's limited edition. Because in any case, I understand it's $300, but it feels more worth it to at that point buy it from wherever the person got it from, or even just offer to buy it off your friend. It seems like she was asking to get it for free, but I wonder if she had just offered the friend to buy it off, that maybe she would be more open to the idea. Either way, probably not. It seemed like she also liked the blazer, even though she didn't wear it often. In which case, it would have just been good to tell the person where he got it from, that way they can buy it. Still, though, the friend is definitely in the wrong, and they need to have a conversation about this because that was a serious breach of trust, and it's really unfortunate that she decided to do that to a 10-year friendship to the point where it's basically almost friendship ruining. I'm sure they can move on from this and reconcile with a sort of talk, but it would definitely be hard to be close with this person again. It would be challenging because you wouldn't expect your best friend to do this, and now that they've shown that they can do it, it would be hard to get that role back because you don't give that role to people that would do that to you. But I hope these guys sort out this stuff. Unfortunately, there's no update for this, so we're gonna go on to the next one. Am I a bad person for refusing to give my mum my savings after she found out how much I have? 19F. I'm 19F, currently in college and still living at home. I've been working part-time since I was 16 and I'm really strict about saving. I don't go out much, don't buy expensive stuff, and I've managed to save a decent amount, around 4K. Last week, my mum asked me to log into my banking app to transfer money for groceries because her card wasn't working. While I was doing that, she saw my total savings. She went quiet and later that night told me that since I'm living under her roof, I should contribute more and that it's selfish of me to hoard money while she's struggling. She asked me to give her 2K to help the family and say that I could always earn it back. The thing is, she's not unemployed or anything. She works full time, we're not rich, but we're not in a crisis either. I already pay for my own school stuff, my phone bill, and sometimes groceries. I was saving that money in case I move out or for emergencies. When I said I wasn't comfortable giving that much, she called me ungrateful and said I'm acting like a tenant instead of a daughter. Now my relatives are saying I should help because family helps family, but I feel like she only wants it because she saw how much I had. Am I a bad person for refusing to give her half of my savings? I've had a few situations like this that I've heard from friends and other people in general. It's a bit tough when you don't know their family dynamic and the reason why they're asking. If the family genuinely needed help, then I think it would be understandable if the mother's asking for extra help. However, based off the story, it doesn't seem like she needs any extra help. She's just asking for it for the sake of asking for it after seeing the amount. All in all, I think 4K is a good amount to have saved up as a 19-year-old, but I think it's still worth saving even more. And it's a shame to let all that go to waste when you worked so hard for it, right? I understand if the mother wants her to start paying rent. Different people start paying rent at different times. Some do it from a very early age, some do it not at all. However, that's just the difference in family dynamics and things. I don't believe the person that made the post is in the wrong here at all. I think the mother asking for 2K outright is a bit outrageous, and I think that if they want to start paying rent, she should talk to her daughter, but asking for 2K outright is definitely a bit insane. But that's a good short one. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is titled, Am I a Bad Person for Talking to My Ex in a Group Chat with Our Friends? I, 19F, broke up with my ex, 18M, 4 months ago, and I still can't seem to move on. We dated for most of high school, we got together at 14 and 13, broke up when we were 15 and 14, and got back together when we were 16 and 15. We had lockers next to each other in year 12, went to formal together, and had graduated side by side. We almost made it a year out of school. Our final breakup last October was mutual. We had an unresolved argument, didn't speak all day, and when I got home and called him, he said he didn't want to talk about it. We cried, we hugged, and we thanked each other for everything and shared our last kiss. Part of me thinks we could have made it without the breakup if we had just talked it through. A month later, he sent a photo of himself with another girl in our shared friend group chat. That crushed me. Not because he was moving on, but because it felt like he was rubbing it in my face. I cut him off completely. I removed him from all my socials and left the group chats. However, his sister is my best friend. Well, she was. After the breakup, she constantly told me what he was doing with other girls, including that he slept with a girl from the photo, and told him anything I said about other guys. It created a lot of resentment. Meanwhile, our friend group kept hanging out, just without me. In January, we ended up at the same small party. I asked to talk. He said he sent the photo because he was hurting and thought I was moving on. I admitted he hurt me. In a weak moment, I told him I still loved him and would take him back if he asked. He said he's over us. The next day, he texted to say he didn't hate me and wanted me back in the group chats. I rejoined. Since then, we talk in the group chats almost daily. I'll usually start the conversations about my day. In the beginning, he was the main one responding, and so once we were done talking about our days, and if no one else had been open to the conversation, it would move on to something about one of our shared interests or our families. Nothing that anyone could not necessarily join in on, just stuff that we used to talk about. One day, my friends made a throwaway comment about how we should just text each other privately. I asked my best friend about it and she said she was kidding and would be behaving the exact same way if she were in a group chat with her ex. She said she would ultimately prefer us to talk in the group chat rather than privately where we may end up getting back together. I don't know though. I find myself checking if he's responding constantly and I get excited when we talk. Before any sort of relationship, he was my best friend and it's nice to have him back. But I don't want to make anyone else uncomfortable in the process. So am I a bad person for engaging with my ex in a group chat with our friends? I know he doesn't want me back romantically, I just really miss his friendship. With this one, I don't think the person that made the post is a bad person, even though the Reddit unfortunately labeled them as such. I think unfortunately they're just hurting a lot and they're making it advances on their ex in hopes of feeling something that they used to feel for each other, even though he's set up a boundary that that's not going to happen again. I feel like it's best for the OP to just take time away from this group chat and away from friends or anything that has to do with him in order to move on. I don't think coming back to this environment at all is healthy, but if they do, I'm sure they would have to understand that they would need to be very emotionally regulated to come back into an environment like this. But yeah, no one's fault, just an unfortunate situation. Let's go on to the next story. This next story has the title, Am I a Bad Person for Suggesting We Swap Weeks Instead of Automatically Taking the Kids for 2 extra weeks? My partner has 5 kids from a previous relationship. We do a 1 week on, 1 week off schedule. Recently, it feels like we've had the kids almost every weekend due to various adjustments. A few weeks ago, his ex messaged saying she'll be overseas for 2 weeks. The second week overlaps into her scheduled week by about 5 days. In the past, he would usually just agree to these changes without discussing them with me. This time, he asked for my input, which I genuinely appreciated because it does affect our household and daily life. I suggested that we keep the kids for 2 weeks she's away, and then she keeps them for 2 weeks when she gets back, so things stay balanced. After that, we'd return to the normal schedule. She reacted by saying that he was being difficult. She wants to keep them 1 extra night of our week before she leaves and says she can't do 2 weeks straight when she returns because she's already booked a weekend away, which happens to fall on our weekend anyway. Now it's turned into a bigger conflict, and I'm being portrayed as the one causing drama and not wanting the kids around. For context, 5 kids is a lot. 2 are teenage boys, the grocery bill doubles, the cleaning increases, we bring in extra help. All of them have extracurriculars, and although I work from home, my afternoons during kid weeks are consumed with school runs and activities. I do all the cooking, grocery shopping, school lunches, homework supervision, attend extra activities, and most of the cleaning. I also manage the gardener and cleaner to make sure the house runs smoothly. I'm the one ensuring the home remains stable and organized during those weeks. I don't resent the kids. What frustrates me is a pattern of schedule changes that seem to default to us absorbing the extra time without discussion or reciprocity. When adjustments are needed, I don't mind helping, but I feel like it should go both ways. I also feel like that if we don't set clear, consistent boundaries now, that it will continue long term. I don't want conflict, I want fairness and predictability. So am I a bad person for suggesting that we keep all of these things balanced instead of automatically agreeing? For this story, I honestly just find it a bit odd how the kids are fully dependent on the wife and not the father at all. But otherwise, I don't think it's a weird thing for the schedule to be changing, although I do think it should stay intact for the kids' sake, but also the parents' sake. I don't feel like there's a good reason enough for it to be changing, otherwise it will just get everyone confused, including the kids' schedules. But yeah, I don't really have a lot to say on this one. I just think that the father should be putting in more effort to take the kids to activities rather than letting his new wife deal with all of this. Otherwise, I think a bit of better communication on all parties would be beneficial, but yeah. It's like that for most of these stories, isn't it? Anyway, let's go on to the next one. Am I a bad person for confronting my friend in front of people when she implied I'm an alcoholic? I, 22F, was hanging out with my friend and her 21F other friends who I don't know when she brought up an acquaintance of hers and said to me, She's an alcoholic, so you probably know her. I barely drink at all. I only accept if someone offers me wine or champagne at social gathering, which happens maybe once a month. I have never been drunk in my life or even had more than a glass at a time. I said, Why would you think that I know her because she's an alcoholic? I'm not an alcoholic. I hardly even drink. She rolled her eyes at me and said, Of course, I'm sure you're not. As if I'm some kind of addict in denial. I've never even had a drink in front of her. I don't know where this audacity came from, but she made her other friends all think that I'm some alcoholic with an issue, which is infuriating. I would not drop the issue, and she said, Oh my god, it's not that deep, move on already. And her other friends started defending her as if I'm the insane one for ruining the vibe. This is just a bit extreme on the other person's party. It feels like they're just picking on her for the sake of picking on her and getting a laugh out of it. And then when she didn't take the bait, when she took the bait too well, they started getting frustrated. She didn't even imply that she was an alcoholic. She actually stated that you are when she wasn't. So it's kind of like straight lying. And I feel like her commentation after only really added fuel to the fire. I don't think that this is a good friend to have around, to be honest. If I were OP, I'd probably just go my own way with these girls. They don't seem like great people to hang around lying for the sake of it. And when I go to them about it, they just deny my feelings as if they don't exist. So, yeah, I don't see myself being in this friendship group, but I hope OP finds better friends to hang out with from now on. Am I a bad person for refusing to give my bedroom to my brother and sleeping in the living room instead? Hi, I'm 19F and in college. My family recently moved into a two-bedroom apartment. It's my mother, me, and 21M brother. At first, it was only going to be me and my mother living here because my brother was staying with our dad. But after we moved, he came back to live with us. Since there are only two bedrooms, my mother bought a couch that turned into a bed, so my brother has been sleeping in the living room. He's been complaining about it a lot, and now my mother is tired of hearing about it. She has decided that instead he should get my bedroom and I'll be the one sleeping in the living room instead. I refused. The issue is that I use my room a lot to study and focus. My brother usually stays up until 4 a.m. playing video games. I feel like if he gets the room, it'll mostly be so he can stay up late gaming, which I'll lose my space and have my routine disrupted. I understand that sleeping in the living room isn't a big deal, but I don't think it's fair that I should give up my room when I was already there and using it for school. Edit. I should also mention that living with my dad wasn't a good situation for my brother, which is why he moved in with us. However, my mother is worried he might go back to living with him. Therefore, she wants to give him the room so he stays with us. I really don't want to add more stress to her since being a single mother is already hard. Also, my brother is a student. Edit 2. A lot of people are saying I'm not a bad person, which I appreciate, but here are a few points that might make you see the situation a bit more clearly. I technically have the option to sleep in the same bedroom as my mother, which would mean everyone ends up with a proper room. My brother doesn't have that option. Number 2. My brother has been taking sleeping pills, which he finds it extremely uncomfortable to sleep in the living room, which makes the situation feel even more serious than just a matter of preference. And then a nice update towards the end is, hello, so after a discussion with my family, we came to an agreement that works for all of us. Thanks everyone for the constructive comments. So I'm glad at the end of this they ended up figuring it out. We didn't really get an update on any of the other ones, which is good. I think the main reason why it was tipping less in his favor is because he wasn't standing up for himself, whereas the other brother was very much heavily onto the I want my own room. But I'm glad they sorted it out. Am I a bad person for telling my sister she can't regularly bring her boyfriend to stay in my home? I rent my childhood home from my mother who lives in her second home elsewhere. I make a pretty small wage in an extremely expensive city, so while I would like to just have my own place, it's not going to be feasible for long. My sister makes substantially more than me but lives in a busy house share the other side of the city. Her boyfriend lives in an essentially poor student accommodation in a different city. She's recently been saying that she feels like she's outgrowing her house share and that she and her partner find it really stressful staying there because of how busy it is and they can't get much peace together. All of that to say that last weekend they came to stay here in the family home and then added 2 additional nights onto the stay without letting me know because they were enjoying the space. Now I've just had 5 hours notice that they decided they'll be staying here again because the BF really got stressed at the idea of staying in her house share. I basically said that I'm not okay with having such a short notice and I'm actually not happy if they're trying to make this a regular thing. This isn't an alternate place to stay for me, this is my only home and I don't appreciate a couple showing up whenever they want to get some space and in doing so taking mine. My sister is angry because she says it's her childhood home too and I'm not the only one to say when she can or can't come and who she brings. And of course my mum wants to stay out of it. So TLDR, am I a bad person for trying to stipulate when my sister can or can't bring her BF to stay in the family home that I rent on an individual basis? Yeah, this one pretty clearly doesn't make the OP a bad person. The agreement was that OP stays in the house, not anyone else, and because of that, I believe it's up to OP for who comes and who stays for any amount of time, regardless of if it's their childhood house or not. I feel like it's also kind of silly that the mother wants to stay out of it, although I can understand, but she did sign the agreement with OP, so it feels like she also has some standing, considering she's the landlord technically. Even so, I can understand the struggles of bad housing and how the sister and the boyfriend are frustrated, but it's definitely intrusive to stay at someone's house just for space. Every so often I think is fine, but I think because they just kept on adding time without enough time for OP to process it, it's also quite rude. That is, however, going to be the last story. I just want to say that if you made it up to the end of the video, I really appreciate you staying, and I hope you agree on some of my takes. I know they're pretty basic, but I think being a good person is pretty easy. Anyway, so if you do enjoy, please leave a comment. I'd love to respond to some.